Hello there, my people. Hola, mi gente. I am Dr. Nicole Peak, a licensed psychologist based out of Colorado. I am here with you today, and I want to continue the conversation around anxiety, and specifically talking about radical acceptance and how that relates to anxiety. So, a couple of videos ago, we talked about how when we're anxious, one of the things that we can do is diffuse our thoughts, right? And how we do that is by, no big deal. When you're feeling anxious, right? I'll cross that bridge if and when I get there, and getting back to what it is that we are doing and focusing on. And so what can we do? What are some other additional things that we can use in our toolbox? And so today, like I said, I wanted to talk about radical acceptance. So most of you know that when we're anxious, there's what's known as the fight, flight, and now freeze response, right? And that's usually the response in our body. I'm not going to get into all the bio behind it, but you can Google that. That basically it's the reason we get amped up when we feel anxious. And so what happens is that a lot of people then get into the fix or fight mentality. And so either we're fighting the anxiety, right? And the thoughts like, I'm anxious, no, I'm not. I'm anxious, no, I'm not. Here are all the reasons why I shouldn't be anxious. And we're back and forth, right? Or the fix it mentality, right? Of doing all the things to try not to be anxious, right? And I feel like therapy, unfortunately, has colluded with this approach. And so some of you might have been in therapy where you've learned about relaxation techniques and diaphragmatic breathing, and guided imagery and progressive muscle relaxation. And all those things really help with is just, as we've talked about before too, they can be mechanisms for avoidance. And they kind of don't work in the long run because we can maybe feel a little bit more relaxed when we do those things, but as soon as we stop the deep breathing, we're back to being anxious again. And so we find that over time, like I said, we kind of get in this fight, or I have to fix this and get rid of this anxiety, right? So radical acceptance, what is radical acceptance? It sounds kind of like new agey or what have you. But radical acceptance, all it's really about is the idea of accepting whatever difficult emotion and associated scary thoughts somebody might have, especially as we're talking today, as it relates to anxiety. And so using radical acceptance, we find that ironically, anxiety tends to then decrease. One of the common mistakes that people make when they are learning this skill is that they confuse acceptance with agreement. And that also could be why sometimes people kind of, resist wanting to use this. That if I accept, it means I agree. I agree with feeling this way, or I agree with a scary thought, or whatever kind of emotion I'm having. And so it's not so much about agreement as much as we can't really do anything to change without first accepting, acknowledging that something exists, that I'm feeling a certain way, before we can actually do anything about it. So that's one mistake. Another mistake that people do is that they feel that radical acceptance then means do nothing. It's not do nothing. It's do nothing about the anxiety. But the idea is that you continue on with life. You continue doing the things that are important to you, whether that's parenting, working, doing chores, working out. You continue to engage in life, but you do nothing about the anxiety. Then I would say the third mistake that people often do is that they kind of accept with the objective of getting rid of, right? So I radically accept this. Is it still there? Is the anxiety still there? Am I still feeling it? And so radical acceptance, true radical acceptance, is acceptance of anything and everything. That no matter what, no matter how strong the emotion is, no matter what emotion it is or thoughts, that I just accept it. I let it in and I continue living my life. So how do we practice this? Good question. Step one, as we've always talked about, recognize. Recognize if you're stuck in the fix or fight mentality. Step two would be, you can even open your hands, right? In yoga, hands that are upwards like this is a movement of acceptance, right? And so you can even put your hands out and just say, it is what it is, right? I accept. It is what it is, and I accept. Third thing, again, we do nothing about the emotion, and we just continue living our life. Step 4, you may have to repeat this over and over and over again. All right, guys, so let me know how that goes in the comments below. As always, I'm Dr. Nicole Peak, helping you not to just feel better, but to actually get better. Peace and love.